Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio 1 o'clock news. First, here are the headlines. A joint investigation by the New Humanitarian and Al Jazeera has uncovered sexual abuses and exploitation by UN and aid workers at the Malakal Protection of Civilians site in the Upper Nile State. The U.S. ambassador to South Sudan says as the country takes a significant step in creating a national force, the unified forces should be diverse in representation across all ranks. A Northern Bahr El Ghazal State Anti-Corruption Commission chairperson who was arrested yesterday on allegations of defaming the governor has been released on bail. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Lasuba Memo. And now the news in detail. A joint investigation by the New Humanitarian and Al Jazeera has uncovered sexual abuses and exploitation by UN and aid workers at the Malakal Protection of Civilians site in the Upper Nile State. Susie Philip reports.
According to a probe titled Alleged Sex Abuse by Aid Workers Unchecked for Years in UN-run South Sudan Camp, the first case emerged in 2015, 2 years after the civil war. However, the incidents recently increased involving IOM, MSF, WFP, and World Vision workers, the findings named as alleged perpetrators. Published on its website early Thursday, the New Humanitarian quoted camp residents saying the UN peacekeepers paid bribe for access to women living at the protection of civilian site. One woman whose name has been withheld in the report said she became pregnant in 2019 to a local World Food Program worker. According to WFP, since 2019, it had received 6 allegations of sexual exploitation and abuse against its staff in South Sudan, 2 in 2019, 1 in 2020, and 3 in 2021. The International Organization for Migration also told the New Humanitarian that it had received 11 allegations of sexual abuse and exploitation against its workers in Malakal since 2017. Another woman said she was 15 when a local World Vision worker raped and impregnated her. Fearful of her future, she said she tried to hang herself before deciding to leave the camp to build a better future. Although the relationship was consensual, most aid groups, including WFP, ban sexual relationships between aid workers and beneficiaries because of the stake power imbalances. In the recent report, Malakal POC residents said sexual exploitation, mostly perpetrators by humanitarian workers, was being experienced on a daily basis. It cited UN and NGO workers rented houses in the camps to have sex with women while the UN peacekeepers were paying bribes to gain access to women. Camp residents also say 3 girls had been raped and impregnated by a teacher in 2018. Some schools in the camp are supported by the UN agencies and the NGOs. One woman told the New Humanitarian and Al Jazeera she feared for the safety of her 13-year-old daughter, saying that a local Mercedes Sun Frontiers staff security guard tried to rape the teen in October 2021. Although the UN and most international NGOs ban sexual relationship with aid beneficiaries, several local aid workers who spoke to the New Humanitarian on conditions of anonymity said they should be allowed to have relationships with women in the camp. Some said it was one of the only ways to find a wife and start a family. By 2018, alarms were sounded that the overcrowded camp was particularly risky for women and girls, in part due to aid workers having inadequate knowledge of policies and procedures, according to a planning document for the UN-led task force. Although aid officials have often fired workers if sexual abuse cases are found to be substantiated, referring cases like rape for criminal prosecution is more difficult. According to a UN database, since 2016, the UN has referred only 2 cases to South Sudan's government. The UN peacekeeping mission in South Sudan opened its bases to more than 200,000 people at the onset of the war in 2013. This is considered to be an unprecedented move in the history of UN peacekeeping mission that was credited with saving thousands of lives. Reporting for IRadium, Susie Philip.
Thanks, Susie Philip. The U.S. ambassador to South Sudan says as the country takes a significant step in creating a national force, the unified forces should be diverse in representation across all ranks. Michael Adler says this is vital in reducing conflict and violence in South Sudan. In May 2020, the then Chief of Defense Forces, Johnson Juma Court, pledged to continue efforts to reform the National Army as promised by his predecessors, transforming the former SPLA, now SSPDF, into a professional army has been the promise of several other chiefs of defense forces. But experts say the task has not been easy considering the rampant corruption by top military leaders and the level of illiteracy among the soldiers. Walma Pal has more.
Last month, President Salva Kiir graduated more than 20,000 necessary unified forces who successfully completed their basic military training at various centers around Juba in central Equatorial State. In an order of allegiance read during the graduation ceremony, President Kiir, who is also the Commander-in-Chief of the South Sudan Defense Forces, or SSPDF, graduated with a total of 21,973 unified forces. The passed out included 3,308 VIP protection forces of the unified SSPDF and 4,366 personnel into the unified South Sudan National Police Service. Kiir also integrated 6,315 personnel into the Unified National Security Service and 1,120 personnel into a Unified National Prison Service. In a separate order, Kiir integrated 3,575 personnel into the Unified National Wildlife Service and 3,289 into the Unified National Civil Defense Service. Recently, nearly 2,000 peace forces also graduated in Western Equatorial State. In a statement during the commemoration of International Day of Peace in Juba yesterday, the U.S. ambassador to South Sudan called for diverse and represented unified forces in the country. Michael Adler said, and I quote, "A necessary unified force that is adequately resourced, with salaries paid on time and with diverse representation across all ranks is vital to reduce conflict and violence." And there marks the end of the quote. He added that with the graduation of the first phase of the necessary unified forces, South Sudan has taken a significant step in creating a national force that can provide safety and security to all South Sudanese people, regardless of their ethnicity. Much more needs to be done to make this so. The diplomat also called on the unity government to meet the other commitments in the peace agreement, including those related to transitional justice, accountability, reconciliation, and healing. Adler also reiterated the Troika countries' commitment to the peace agreement as the only way to deliver the peace, security, and democracy that the South Sudanese people have waited for so long. He also called for those that have instigated or committed acts of violence, including sexual and gender-based violence against civilians, to be held accountable for the actions without delay. iRadio News, Walma Pal.
Thanks, Walma Pal. A boy at a cattle camp in Lake State has taken his own life, and another schoolgirl attempted suicide in western Equatoria's Mundry East County recently. Lake State police spokesperson says the unnamed 12-year-old ran away from a cattle camp last week after he was beaten by the cattle camp leader and fell humiliated. When he found again, Elijah Mabor said the boy shot himself and died instantly. He narrated what happened.
And then she gave birth. She was getting teased in the school by relatives that she gave birth.
Mabor said the police are investigating the incident. Meanwhile, early this week, a 17-year-old girl in Mundry East County of Western Equatorial State killed her 1-week-old baby before attempting to take her own life. Margaret Fauzier, the area commissioner, said the unnamed teen mother confessed to the police her wrongdoing.
She was getting teased in the school by relatives that she gave birth, and I don't know why is the kid. I know she people are teasing her. So after this teasing continued, she decided to hang herself. She strangled the child. When they took the child to the hospital, they covered that she was having internal. It's like 1 week child by hanging herself. But then people came and she was taken. And then she was taken to the police. The parents yesterday went there and said that they want the girl home. They want to go and talk to her at home.
According to the World Health Organization's data, as of 2019, South Sudan had one of the highest suicide rates in the world, occupying 13th position out of 172 countries surveyed globally and the fourth in Africa. This is iRadio News. Police in northern Bahr el Ghazal state are investigating 46 workers of a construction company following the raping and killing of an 11-year-old girl in Awil town. The spokesperson told iRadio the body of Akon Th Dud Jal was discovered adjacent to the compound of the African Resource Company, ARC, in the Udum residential area. Captain Gwot Akol says the suspects from different nationalities, including 3 women and 2 police officers who were guarding the premises of ARC. According to Gwot Akol, the deceased child had left home at the Maper Chwe residential area on Sunday after conflict ensued between her and her brother and was later found dead. He says a postmortem carried out at the Awil Civil Hospital found the girl was raped and died from injuries.
It is true that we are now investigating 46 suspects under preliminary investigation. We all know that on 20th Tuesday, we received very shocking information about the body of the girl child being found near ARC field compound at Udum residential area. The body was brought to the hospital for post-mortem. Unfortunately, it was found that the girl was raped first before she died, according to the post-mortem. As a result, we opened a preliminary investigation against any person around that area to establish the fact behind her death. Among 46 suspects we are investigating, 2 of them are police officers who were guarding the facility, and 3 are women. The 46 are mixed nationalities. The child was identified as Akon Th Dud Jal, 11 years old. The mother of the child confirmed that her daughter left the house on Sunday, 18 September, around midday after she had misunderstanding with her brother.
Still in northern Bahr el Ghazal, the State Anti-Corruption Commission chairperson, who was arrested yesterday on allegations of defaming the governor, has been released on bail. Anei Roch Akwei's arrest came a week after Governor Tong Akin Ngor lifted his immunity and sacked him from office mid last week. The governor has accused Roch Akwei of tarnishing his and the finance minister's image by calling on them corrupt. Last month, Roch claimed the commission established that the governor and the finance minister concealed millions of pounds in taxes annually. He also alleged that the 2 officials diverted vehicles meant for the state constitutional post holders to individuals who were not serving in the government. Speaking to iRadio this morning, Anei Roch Akwei confirmed his release this morning.
Yeah, the governor is often again is here. He told me this one is information state. He listed my name, but he is not one to appoint me. I was appointed by the president next time. If the name he was appointed by the president, all the constituents whether Northern Bahr el Ghazal or South Sudan are appointed by the president. Yes, they send the police to me in my office. I went to the office in the morning. The police came me in my office. They told me they want me in the police station from the 11 up to 4. I spent the 4 hours in the police station. Yes, now I am in my home now.
You're listening to iRadio Afternoon News. And now to the international scene powered by MTN.
Aku, hana magi safir, hana gifiri su mahal tawilu gurus, sante de malian gurus, gubal mujirima maligana, handira sulu gurus fi wilayat.
Italy za wara zede, Italy za vidab ta jere rasul gurus, gubudu gurus fi senta.
ite maruf gal MTN jibulen na momo fi belede ah aku momo de biga sunu kaman be sayda na kef zado momo de MTN mobile money be MTN mobile money de ite bak de rafi zu guru staki de kulu fi jo telefon take ite bak de rasul le ay zone alindo account MTN mobile money de fi ay zaman u fi ay waqt dalta der ashanta fi fata hisab ma momo MTN mobile money lazim kelta dusu nejma itnen 00 selim wita bil ko ke tirmin malumat al bi sayda kef ita fi fata hisab take
And here is Lugala Mulai with the international news.
Hello and good afternoon, Lasuba Memo. Now let's take a look at what is making headlines in the region and the international scene. The Gabonese opposition leader, Guy Nzubandama, has been placed under house arrest 5 days after he was detained at the Congolese border with suitcases packed with about $2 million US. His arrest was filmed and the opening of the suitcases posted on social media. Mr. Nzubandama, a potential candidate in the upcoming presidential elections, has been charged with violation of import controls and cooperation with a foreign power. His party, the Democrats, say the accusations are politically motivated. Elsewhere, French President Emmanuel Macron met with the leaders of Rwanda and Democratic Republic of Congo amid tensions between the two East African neighbors over rebel activities near their common border. The three leaders met on Wednesday on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. The leaders went on to intensify lasting cooperation to fight impunity and put an end to activities of armed groups in the Great Lakes region, state-owned France 24 quoted the French presidency as saying. And finally, amid rising tensions, Ukraine and Russia have carried out an unexpected prisoner exchange, the largest since the war started. Russia freed 215 prisoners of war, including the commanders of the Azov battalion. For weeks, they led the resistance in the city of Mariupol, holed up in the bunkers and tunnels of the giant Azovstal steelworks, and are seen as heroes in Ukraine. 10 foreigners captured in Ukraine were also freed. In return, Ukraine sent back 55 Russian fighters and the pro-Russian Ukrainian politician Viktor Medvedchuk, who was facing treason charges. And that is all making headlines in the region and the international scene. Brought to you by MTN. Back to you, Lasuba Memo.
Thank you, Lugala Mulai. This is iRadio News, and now we move to the world of sports with Moyo Jacob.
Good afternoon, Memo. The South Sudan under-23 national team will take on Tanzania under-23 in the AFCON under-23 qualifiers tomorrow. The game will kick off at 3 p.m. Central African time. And elsewhere, the BBC has reported that football disorder in England and Wales has reached 8-year high. Arrest and reported incidents of disordered football matches in England and Wales last season were at their highest level for 8 years. There were 2,198 football-related arrests, the highest number since the 2013 to 2014, according to Home Office figures. The 2021 to 2022 campaign saw the return of capacity crowds after a year of COVID-19 restrictions. Last season's disorder included players being approached after pitch invasions. A fan was jailed after running onto a pitch and headbutting Sheffield United captain Billy Sharp at the end of Nottingham Forest play of match against the Blades. A Manchester City fan who ran onto the pitch and taunted Aston Villa keeper Robin Olsen on the final day at Etihad Stadium received a 4-year football banning order. And finally, Britain's Emma Raducanu defeated Belgium's Janina Wickmeyer 6-3, 7-5 to progress to the Korea Open last 8 in Seoul. Raducanu, ranked 77th in the world, broke Wickmeyer's serve 3 times in a row at the end of the first set to seal the opener. A Kagi second set ended with Raducanu breaking once more after being taken to deuce in the previous game. The 19-year-old will play Poland's world number 51, Magda Linette, next. Victory over Linette would be the first time Raducanu won 3 matches in a single tournament since her extraordinary run to the US Open title in September 2021. End of the sports news, and back to you, Lasuba Memo, in the studio for the roundup of the news bulletin.
Thank you, more Jacob Felix. This is iRadio Afternoon News, and to end this bulletin, here is a recap of the headlines. A joint investigation by the new humanitarian and Al Jazeera has uncovered sexual abuses and exploitation by UN and aid workers at the Malakal Protection of Civilians site in the Upper Nile state. The U.S. ambassador to South Sudan says as the country takes a significant step in creating a national force, the unified forces should be diverse in representation across all ranks. And Northern Bahar El Ghazali State's Anti-Corruption Commission chairperson who was arrested yesterday on allegations of defaming the governor has been released on bail. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. You can get these stories and updates by subscribing to iRadio News Alerts on your MTN South Sudan number. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also a WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba. Like our Facebook page, iRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 12:30. I am Lasuba Memo. Thank you for listening.